Hi, I'm Noni and I am a self-confessed recovering cereal granola muesli addict. I mean, I used to eat that stuff for dessert and now I understand why, because of all the multiple forms of refined sugar, the toxic vegetable oils, the unnecessary additives, and usually a hell of a lot of grains that are probably GMO and processed heavily. Once I learned the truth about what they actually contain, I knew that I had to either give it up or create a healthier version. Needless to say, I chose the second option of creating a healthy granola recipe, and now I'm going to share it with you too so that you can ditch those unhealthy store-bought options. Now, this recipe is one of my most popular recipes from my 6-week program, but thanks to my recent partnership with Thermomix Australia and New Zealand, you can find this recipe on Cookie-Doo. From whatever country you are searching from, just make sure that your filters are set to English and or Australia. So let's get started. We can swipe the screen here and type in granola or my name, Noni. So let's get started. We're going to start by typing in the recipe into our Cookie-Doo. So grain-free granola in brackets, Noni Jenkins, that's me. Tap on that one and away we go. First of all, preheat the oven. Next. Now, this recipe is totally customizable, and this is a perfect example. Yesterday, when I went to get the ingredients, they only had the apricots, the bright orange ones, which have sulfur, and they weren't organic, so I opted for some organic dried figs. So in here, I have dried figs, which I chopped because they're bigger than the apricots, and I also have the next ingredient, which is the Medjool dates. So then the dates, I've put those in. Lid on with measuring cup. Next, it's automatically taken us to turbo. So for 1 second, it's going to let us know 2 times we need to process this turbo. Next, just to show you what the turbo did in those couple of seconds. Now it's asking for 160 grams of unsalted nuts. You can use whatever nuts you like. I've got a blend of what I had in the pantry to make up that 160 grams, walnuts, almonds, cashews, and macadamia. And I think I put a bit more because usually I double this recipe because I know how much we love it in this house. So, but I wanted to follow the recipe for you today, but I did think I threw in a little bit more. Yeah, you can totally customize this, just as I'm doing now. Next, add your coconut. Try and find a coconut that doesn't have the preservative 202 in it. I know that Aldi here in Australia sell a shredded coconut that doesn't have that. Most of the other ones do have that, but if you can avoid it, avoid it. Popping the lid on again. Another couple of turbos, 2 times. Now you can check this if you like it less chunky, just process it another time, another turbo 1 or 2. I think that's pretty good for me. Now 1 to 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. I love cinnamon, so I'm gonna opt for 2. If you love cinnamon, I recommend that you do the 2 as well. And I'm using a organic cinnamon here. Now, adding in a little bit of vanilla. Try to steer away from vanilla essence because it's not real vanilla. and it contains sugars, but this, go for an extract or a paste. I'm just gonna do this by eye. Or you could measure 10 grams. I've done it so many times, I think I could make this recipe with my eyes closed. Now we're gonna start adding the other ingredients. So it's asking for pumpkin seeds or pepitas, and then it'll ask for sunflower seeds. So I've put them both in here together. Again, a little more than it asked for. Sunflower seeds are in there as well. The coconut oil, you can use butter as well, but just make sure it's softened. So we're gonna use 30 grams. Obviously mine's not softened enough. Ah, perfect. Perfect amount. Pop the lid back on again. And 20 seconds reverse, it's going to be mixing it through. Speed 3. Now, sticking with the customizable theme, I'm going to add oats to this one. Now, I wouldn't suggest doing that unless you can find gluten-free and organic oats. Now, there's only one company I know of that sell gluten-free and organic oats, and that is GF Oats, and they are an Australian company. So I'm going to opt to add in some oats today, and you can do this to bulk it up and make it go further. If you have a family, they're gonna love this and they're gonna devour it in like a day. So I do recommend, if you want to beef it up, if you want to make it go further and be a little bit cheaper, add the oats, just try and get the good quality. If you are adding oats, I normally like to add in about 100 grams. Okay, and then mix that all through. 20 seconds, speed 3, reverse. Transfer to baking tray. Now for the baking tray, I'm using my favorite baking tray from the Mix shop. I have this in a range of different sizes. This is the largest one. It's beautiful rose gold and it has a silicone like baking paper mat that comes with it. So it replaces baking paper, it's reusable, super easy to clean, keeps your baking tray really nice. And just look at that. So nice, even before it's baked, it's beautiful. If you're doing a double batch like I usually do, just use 2 baking trays because you want to spread it out as kind of thinly as possible. All on the baking tray, nice and evenly spread out. We're going to bake this now for 15 to 20 minutes, just on a low temp of 150 degrees. You don't want to burn it and we want to stir it every 10 minutes. And there we are. I wish you could smell that. It is amazing. Your whole house smells delicious when you make this recipe. Now, as I mentioned, this recipe is totally customizable. You can make it fruit-free if you like. You can make it nut-free if you like. You can add whatever nuts and seeds you've got. You can add the oats like I did. You can make it double batch. Really make it to suit. Find what your family likes. One optional thing that I do at the end is add some hemp seeds. Now I just sprinkle them through. You can measure it if you want, 2 to 3 tablespoons. I add these because they just add a lot more nutrients. Hemp seeds are so beneficial, little nutrient powerhouses. The other thing I do sometimes is add in some dried cranberries or some goji berries. Now, goji berries are also packed with nutrients, and the cranberries, they just give a nice little burst. But we don't want to add these into the baking time, because especially the goji berries, Because they're already so dry, they will get really burnt and just tough, and then they'll be all through your granola. Same if you're using dried dates, which I don't recommend. If you need to use dried dates, chop them up finely and add them to the finished product rather than baking them. Once it's fully cooled, store it in an airtight container in the pantry. It will last weeks, but it won't last weeks, if you know what I mean. And on that note, if your family gobble this up, I've had people tell me that they've had to hide it in a Sultana brand box just to stop their family from devouring it. So that's a gold tip to keep in mind. I mean, what a good problem to have. Your family wants the healthy version. That is great. Like I said, you can make it go further by adding some good quality oats or other things into it. And if you want to keep a little bit aside for you, which I recommend, take a serving out for you, keep that safe and hidden somewhere, like in a Sultana brand box where no one will ever find it, and then give the rest to the family. But also, if you want to, you can take out some of the granola without the oats and then add the oats. So if you want to be gluten-free, grain-free, you can take a portion out or half it, add the oats in, and then bake it onto baking trays. Please let me know if you make it, what you thought of it, and do not forget to rate the recipe on Cookie Doo. You can do this by just tapping on the amount of stars that you want to give it. And just so you know, again, you can find this recipe on my blog, on Cookie Doo, in the 1 week challenge, and in my 6 week challenge. I've literally put it everywhere, so you cannot miss it.